The written history of ambient music up to this point has really just focused on the Western Hemisphere. So today, we're going to take a look at what was happening in Japan. My name is Phil. I make ambient music under the name Left the Chat, and I'm a former librarian. But once a librarian, always a librarian. So I run this book club. Welcome to Ambient Book Club. We're continuing our series of 20th Century Ambient by Dusty Henry, part of the 33 and a third genre series. And this is chapter 5, called Chilling Out. In this chapter, we spend a lot of time discussing the Japanese origins of ambient music of the 70s and 80s, especially. But we're not just going to jump in there, because Japan has a long history of caring about the sounds of their direct environment. Now, there's zero chance that I'm going to pronounce any of these Japanese words properly, so forgive me, and I will make sure to get the text down below so you can read the actual word for yourself. Dusty Henry starts us in the Edo period of Japan, which is 1608 to 1868. So we're even well before Eric Satie. And this is where we find a traditional Japanese garden ornament device that collects the rain and allows it to patter in different ways to make different noises and create a beautiful ambience generated only by the power of nature. It's called Sui Kankutsu. That's my best try. The term roughly translates to water cave. We also have Toswiman, which translates to water gate, which is a drainage pipe that is designed to be acoustically pleasing. So we can see examples as far back as the 1600s of the Japanese culture caring deeply about not just the visuals of their surroundings, but also the sound that they're generating. And these designs remind me of the wind chimes that were everywhere when I was a kid in the suburbs in the United States. And you see them less so now today, but they were quite pleasant. I think these Japanese designs are a little bit more pleasant. But this idea of decorating your outdoor soundscape. So with this in mind, we'll jump forward to 1975 when a man named Satoshi Ashikawa opens a record store called Art Vivant. And this record store has ambient and experimental music at its heart, at its core. They stock music from Brian Eno and John Cage and a lot of the people that we've discussed up to this point. And this attracts a certain type of artist, a certain type of mentality, and a group is formed, much like Brian Eno's concept of scenius. And this is the scene where this concept of Japanese ambient music forms. So in Japan, instead of ambient music, we get the term Kankyo Ongaku, which translates to environmental music. And here I will share one of Dusty Henry's short cartoons, which I haven't shown a lot of because if you're really interested, you should pick up the book for yourself. But this one is short and does a really nice job of explaining environmental music as a peaceful feeling. Instead of Brian Eno's ambient 1 through 4, we get a series of ambient albums called Wave Notations. And the first of these comes in 1982 by Hiroshi Yoshimura. So Wave Notations 1 was originally commissioned as music for 9 postcards for a art installation at the Hara Museum of Contemporary Art. It seems like in this scene, a lot of these albums were commissioned not as music albums, but as sonic atmospheres for either businesses or ads or museum installations. Well, I think it's fraught for debate when you bring up creating art as a commission for an ad or for business. I think we can all agree how cool it would be to be asked to create a sonic atmosphere for an art exhibit at your local museum and be really a part of the art community in that way. I think it's something a lot of ambient musicians can agree that we could all aspire to. And there's also a note in the book that the business commissions were incentivized by the government at this time. Japan's economy was booming, and the government wanted to give tax incentives to businesses who used their finances to support the arts and artists. And it just so happened that this environmental music movement was really palatable to a large mainstream Japanese public, or at least the music was extremely inoffensive. So a lot of these artists were able to pick up commissions from businesses, as we'll see. So Hiroshi Yoshimura is hired to compose Pier and Loft, written for a warehouse fashion show. He releases Air in Resort, which was made for a cosmetics company to promote perfume. And he is hired by Misawa Home Institute of Research and Development to create a soundtrack that would be played in their newly designed prefab homes. And so this album is released in 1986 and comes to be known as Soundscape 1 Surround. And if Eric Satie sought to make music that could be played in the home, in any home, Hiroshi Yoshimura is designing a sound to be heard in a specific brand of home. And maybe it wasn't to the liking of this home company, because he continued to make music for them. But in 1986, he releases the album Green, because these are tracks that the company thought were too busy to be used in their homes. These are the rejects. And the funny thing about this is that these rejects become his most famous and notable work. I think Green was probably one of the first ambient albums I ever ran into, other than just YouTube videos and tutorials. And Dusty Henry mentions in his book that about 10 years ago there was a real push online from the algorithm, for unknown reasons, of the Kankyo Ongaku movement. And it pushed albums like Green to people like me, seemingly out of the blue. Another album that circulated more recently on YouTube is an album by Haruomi Hosono. And in 1984, he released Hana ni Mizu, which roughly translates to watering a flower. And this album was commissioned for the Muji retailer to be played in their stores. I can imagine shopping to this. Hosono has a long career that you should definitely check out his discography. But one thing that I'll mention is in 1993, his album Medicine Compilation from the Quiet Lodge, because this album features our friend Laraji. And I'm just scratching the surface of the Japanese ambient artists from this time that are mentioned in this book. So if this interests you, please read it. This chapter did guide me to one YouTube video that I want to share that is really cool. And it's Sakamoto and Novo Glass. And this is a live recorded ambient duet in a glass house while it's raining. If that doesn't appeal to you, I'm not sure why you're watching this video, because that is everything any of us could ever want. So, my only complaint about chapter 5 is that there's not more of it. I would love to know what happens in the late 80s on through to today with the Japanese ambient scene and how it parallels the Western Hemisphere. If anyone is writing that book, please send it over. I'm going to read it. I'm going to cover it. We're going to do a series about it because I am curious and I would love to know. And if any of you have any recommendations for modern day ambient artists or early 2000s ambient artists from Japan, please send them my way. So this one was a little bit shorter. Next time we will cover chapter 6, the final chapter, and we'll see if we can find an answer to the question, once and for all, what is ambient? Thank you for watching. Oh, and one last thing. Thank you to everyone who likes and comments and subscribes. We're trying to build a community here, so please engage in the comments. And I wanted to highlight a comment that we had from Dan AI or Al 87. We're going to go with Dan Al because I'm hoping you're not AI. Dan says, I am enjoying your series and would like to understand ambient music at a deeper level. That's why we're here, doing it together. Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy is a favorite because I adore Eno as a vocalist. Another Green World and My Life in the Bush of Ghosts are also captivating. My fondness and intrigue in these albums may suggest that they are not ambient in function in the way discrete music or the ambient series present. Listening to music for airports again and enjoying my time, but not likely to recall much of it later on, as I have heard it many times before, but do not have a clue how it truly sounds. Isn't this why it works so well as ambient music? And I thought this was a great insight, because that is one of the differences between ambient albums and more traditionally structured albums like pop or rock or hip hop. We may get, tracks 1, 2, or 3, etc. But the differences between the tracks isn't huge. And the dynamics aren't as large as hearing lyrics that you can latch onto, hearing a chorus that's repeated. So one of the hallmarks of ambient to me, maybe it's one of its weaknesses, but I think it's also one of its strengths, is that I can't remember it. When I listen to an album, it doesn't strike my memory so much as it does my emotions. As I was thinking of a response for Dan, the only analogy that I could bring up for myself was there are a lot of movies that I consider great and favorite movies, but many of them I haven't seen in 10 years or more. And I probably couldn't tell you a single character's name. And I don't remember specific scenes so much as a blurry image of maybe what the movie was about because it's been so long since I've seen them. But I still can remember the feeling of sitting down to watch it. Whatever room I was in, whoever the people were I was with, at whatever age I was, they all are circumstances that surround my viewing experience of that movie and create a sense of, yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. And I think the same is true for a great ambient album. When I'm not actively listening to an ambient album, I can't tell you exactly what it sounds like or hum part of it for you or recite a lyric that I really enjoyed. But I can tell you that the feeling I had when I listened to it was something worth revisiting. So thank you to Dan for that comment, and everyone else, please comment. Let's get some dialogue going. Thanks for joining me on Ambient Book Club.